Thank you.
You need to get dressed.
Hey.
Ain't no hey, I gotta need to calm your ass down and shut the fuck up.
Stupid motherfucker. Shit.
The story kicks off in Atlanta City, where we meet Jaxen waking up and preparing for work. Before he can head out, he gets a call from his friend Ray, who tells him there's a quick job to handle. A man named Mars needs to be taught a lesson, on behalf of Ray's mother-in-law. Jaxen wastes no time and heads to a gym where Mars is working out. He casually assists Mars for a moment, but when Mars questions who he is and why he hasn't seen him before, Jaxen replies bluntly that he's there for a reason. Mars shouldn't have hit his wife, Lisa. Offended, Mars demands to know if Jaxen is a cop or a lawyer and insists he can't be talked to like that. The two get into a fight, but Jaxen's martial arts skills give him the upper hand. Before leaving, he warns Mars never to lay a hand on Lisa again or face serious consequences. In the next scene, we're introduced to Jari, a gifted singer rehearsing on stage. Her boss criticizes her lack of focus and weakening performance. Upset, Jari storms off. When she enters her car, she notices a stranger, Roger, instead of her usual driver. Alarmed, she's taken away by him. Meanwhile, Jaxen is now working as head of security at a nightclub. When he discovers some guests using drugs in the restroom, he steps in to confront them. A scuffle breaks out, but he manages to contain the situation with help from another security guard. Later, he meets with Ray to collect his payment for dealing with Mars, but Jaxen refuses to take the full amount, returning part of it and shaming Ray for charging a woman so much. While checking security footage, Jaxen spots Gina, and seeing her makes him smile. He rushes out to greet her, and she's clearly happy to see him too. Jaxen tells her he now works security after leaving the police force. They catch up and enjoy each other's company. The next day, Jaxen is disturbed by a knock at his door. A delivery man hands him a mysterious box, but as he opens it, an armed man sneaks up behind him and orders him to come quietly. Holland wants a word. But Jaxen, trained and alert, quickly overpowers the attackers and disarms them. Furious, he storms into Holland's office with the box, demanding answers. Holland calmly tells him there's a job with a big payout, finding Jari, who recently disappeared. Jaxen initially refuses, saying Holland should call the police. But Holland insists on keeping law enforcement out of it and offers cash on the spot. Jaxen counters, asking for $50,000, half up front. Holland agrees, pays him, and Jaxen sets out on the case. He first checks in with Ray and learns that Jari was dating a man named Money, who owns a popular club. Jaxen visits the club, tells Money what's going on, and Money, concerned for Jari's safety, agrees to help. They go to her home only to find it ransacked, with no sign of Jari. Distressed, Money is reassured by Jaxen, who promises to find her within a week. At a high-profile event, Jaxen spots Holland and questions him again about Jari. Holland brushes him off, and Jaxen turns to Holland's secretary, Lonnie, asking about a woman speaking with Holland. Lonnie tells him it's Yun Song, a wealthy investor backing Holland's ventures. Jaxen approaches Yun and questions her about Jari, but Yun is evasive, and her bodyguards intervene. After a tense moment, she signals them to back off and leaves. Later, Gina asks Jaxen what's going on. When he apologizes for dragging her into the situation, she reassures him. But the next morning, while they're stepping outside, two armed men on a motorcycle attack. Jaxen fights back, but Gina gets shot. He rushes her to the hospital, where police question him and he explains everything. Jaxen then calls Money, asking him to look after Gina so he can focus on finding Jari. Money agrees. Jaxen leads to a biker club, confronting members about a masked attacker. The bikers challenge him, but he overpowers them. He uses fear and force to extract information, eventually learning from one of them that a man named Bruce Lee was hired by Holland. Jaxen pretends the bullets he fired were real, scaring them. He then confronts Holland, demanding the truth. Holland confesses he owed money to Yun Song and that she had Jerry kidnapped and sent hitmen after Jaxen. Jaxen warns Holland that this is no longer business, it's a dangerous game. Meanwhile, Money looks after Gina. Jaxen later joins them and is relieved to see Gina recovering. He then tells Money he knows where Jerry is. Money, already prepared with a car, surprises Jaxen with his readiness. They head off to the location together. Elsewhere, Yun Song's guards confront Holland, torture him for information, and demand he repay his debt within 48 hours. They then abandon him on the roadside. Jaxen and Money arrive at an old building where Jerry is held. After spotting her, they decide to enter stealthily via the roof using climbing gear that Money brought. Jaxen releases smoke as a distraction and instructs Ray to approach from the front posing as a gas leak inspector. The guards stop him, but Ray talks his way in by insisting they need a full crew to resolve the leak quickly. Inside, Jaxen and Money reach Jerry's room only to find it empty. Jerry had already been moved to the bathroom. Meanwhile, Ray is stopped from going upstairs, so he pretends to call his head office. A guard, nervous, alerts the one escorting Jerry. But Jerry seizes the moment, knocks the guard out, and hides. Jaxen and Money arrive but don't see her and assume she escaped. As they head downstairs, one of Yun's guards corners Money with a gun. Ray finds the gas leak by smashing into a wall with an axe. As Money fights the guard, the situation becomes critical because even a spark could trigger an explosion. Ray warns them, and a cigarette dropped earlier finally ignites, starting a fire that threatens to consume the building. Jackson's team gains the upper hand in the fight. Jerry is eventually found by Jaxen, and he tells her to stay put while he retrieves Money and Ray. But as he leaves, he's ambushed and shot in the head, though he fakes being dead to survive. Money and Ray evacuate with the others. When Jaxen wakes up, he finds his phone broken but manages to get Jerry out using a rope through the window before the fire spreads. Yun, furious at the botched kidnapping, prepares to kill her guards but stops when they claim to have a new plan. Meanwhile, Jaxen and Jerry make it to a hospital, where the doctor treating Jaxen turns out to be Mars, the man Jaxen had beaten earlier, now seemingly reformed. Money shows up and is relieved to see Jerry safe. Jerry thanks Jaxen for risking everything to save her. Jaxen and Money later try to visit Gina but find her gone. The hospital staff tells them she left for Swerve City Records. Jaxen calls the office using a disguised voice and asks if Gina is there. When she picks up, he warns her not to go into Holland's office. She initially thinks it's a prank, but Jaxen says a secret word only she would know, and she realizes it's really him. Unfortunately, it's too late. Yun and her guards have already taken over the office, beaten Holland, and are searching for Gina. As Gina tries to escape, guards hunt her. Meanwhile, Jaxen and Money arrive and fight through the security. Jaxen heads up while Money takes another route. Gina, trying to flee down the stairs, hears a noise and retreats. Jaxen runs out of ammo but pushes ahead, reaching the rooftop where Yun's guards are about to throw Lonnie off the edge. He fights them and manages to save her. Then Yun herself fights Jaxen. During the struggle, Yun cuts the rope tying Lonnie, but Jaxen catches her in time. Gina arrives and hoses Yun down with a water pipe, causing her to fall from the rooftop to her death. Jaxen, Gina, Lonnie, and the others rush to rescue Holland, who is badly hurt. Money warns them the building is about to ignite. They all escape just as the building explodes in flames. Outside, Jaxen suggests they leave town. Money gives him the car keys and says their paths will cross again. They go their separate ways, and the story ends.